Hello, and welcome to the video series for CQD Reports Management. My name is Ryan Givette. I am a Senior Service Engineer for Skype for Business in the Customer Lifecycle Services team. Our team is part of the overall Skype for Business product group, and our team has the following goals: to enhance the customer and partner experience by capturing feedback to influence product direction, while enabling organizations of any size to get to our cloud service by providing best-in-class readiness and deployment services. This session is part of our Skype Operations Framework training, and we encourage you to review all of the training sessions available. Let's recap on why we created the Skype Operations Framework and what it is. The shift to the cloud changes the way that Skype for Business is delivered, moving from on-premise deployments to online deliveries. Our goal is to provide practical guidance to assist with planning, delivering, and operating Skype for Business online. We have created the Skype Operational Framework as a multifaceted approach to provide that practical guidance and associated tools and assets. This common language of phases and stages attempts to help drive a common understanding of the Skype for Business online lifecycle. To help folks get on board, we have the Skype Academy that hosts sessions like this one and also technical product training. Finally, we have feedback mechanisms so that you can work with us on providing the best information possible. Please keep in mind that the Skype Operational Framework is a living framework. We continually update content, so please visit our site on a regular basis to get the latest material. As we are going to find out in today's session, the Skype for Business framework is a living, breathing framework for Skype for Business Online. We will be adding new content and working on updating delivered assets, as well as updating the training material to cover major updates. We encourage you to always be working with the latest videos and tools which may have been released since this overview session was recorded. This video session will focus on content available in the January 2017 version of CQD. Please check back often for up-to-date information on changes to CQD and other Skype Operations Framework information. Welcome to the Investigate Media Quality Using CQD video series. We created this set of short and easy-to-consume videos to help you start using and mastering Skype for Business Online call quality diagnostics to investigate media quality in your own deployments with the aim of helping you drive up overall quality. Each video builds on the previous set. We recommend that you watch them in order, but also feel free to dip in where needed. The first video series provided an introduction to CQD, followed by the second series on basic concepts. The current session focuses on managing CQD reports to optimize your investigations. The first thing we'll want to do in CQD is understand how to create a new report, clone it from an existing report, edit the report, and finally delete the report. We'll also look at importing and exporting the data, as well as cloning the data. Let's get started. First, we'll want to load up CQD. Then, we'll navigate to Detailed Reports on the top left-hand side. From this view, you can see the pre-populated report for all audio streams. Off to the left, we have commands for editing this report, creating a new report, and importing a report. First, let's create a new report by clicking New. We'll see the Query Editor box come up. From here we have a number of different options to select. We'll visit most of the other options in subsequent videos, but for now, to populate some content, let's add a measurement. To do so, click the plus button on the right-hand side. I'm going to select Total Call Setup Succeeded Stream Count. There are additional options for this measurement, but we'll just take the defaults as they exist for now. Click Close on the top right-hand side. Now look at the preview for the report. Depending upon the data you have in your environment, you may or may not see counts. Let's click Save for now. And on the right is your new report. Once the new report is shown, you'll see some links show up just above your report. From here we can edit our new report, which brings up the Query Editor window again. We can click on Dimensions, Measurements, and Filters to fine-tune the report. For now, let's just click Save to continue. If we click Clone, it clones the report and places it to the right of the current report, with the addition of the word copy. You can then edit that report, which is useful for small modifications to an already useful report. Another way of cloning a report, if you're already in the Query Editor window, is by clicking to the right of Save and selecting Save As. This adds a new report to the right of the current report, just like clicking Clone when you're on the main page. Adding subreports is another way to organize your report's views. Now let's take the All Audio Streams report as an example. When you create a new report, the title is shown in black text, meaning it's a standard report. When you look at the All Audio Streams, you'll notice that when hovering over the text, it's clickable. Let's go ahead and click on it. Now, we have a couple of reports nested underneath the main report, Managed and Unmanaged. This is a great way to nest useful reports that allow for you to drill into problem areas after reviewing higher-level reports. For example, when we look at the All Audio Streams report, we might see a spike in poor quality for November, but we don't know from that view what's causing it, so we drill down into a more meaningful report to tell us whether the problem may be coming from a managed device or an unmanaged device. If we see that the spike is from a managed device, we can drill down into that subreport and dive further into the problem. Let's go back to our first report that we created. You can navigate to it by clicking on the All Audio Streams on the top of the page. Now, let's go to our new report and click Add Subreport. When we do this, CQD launches a new window with the same report we created initially. From here, we can modify our report much in the way that the audio stream report had managed and unmanaged devices. When it comes time to delete a report, you can do so from the submenu on the report. Click and select Delete. You'll be prompted to make sure that you want to delete the report. Click OK, and it will remove the report or cancel if you didn't mean to delete it. Additionally, if you've created a subreport, such as the one here, that new dashboard view will still be visible, even if you've deleted all the reports in that view. To delete the subreport page itself, click on the left-hand side Delete option, which will remove the subreport altogether. Another option for the data presented is to download it for editing. The data is exported as a CSV for use in programs like Excel, SQL, or any program you see fit to consume it with. To do this, click on the submenu for the report and click Download. The file will be available to save from your browser. When you've finished a useful report and wish to save it off, click on the option to export the report tree. This will export the report you're working on, as well as any subreports of that main report. The file will save as a CQDX file. When you've completed that, you can share this with other people who may find the report useful in their own dashboard views. Importing a report is as simple as going to the left menu and selecting Import. This will bring up an Explorer window. Navigate to the CQDX file you're going to use. In this case, I'm using the one I previously exported, and then select Open. A dialog box will pop up informing you that the page needs to be reloaded. Click OK, which will refresh the page for you. You will then see your imported report to the right of your existing reports. In our second session, we're going to go over core concepts for CQD and then dive into some data with dimensions, metrics, and filters. We will also cover bar line charts and when they're useful, followed by trends lines, and finally titles and descriptions. This slide also gives an intro on a simple statement and how that statement is divided into key concepts of a report. The first key component is the data cube. There are plenty of examples of a data cube on the internet, but in its roughest format, it is a data structure that is pre-built and allows for faster results from large datasets. When we look at metrics from calls, they tend to be quite large, so rather than storing them in a flat DB structure, we utilize data cubes. In the example provided, we see that a data cube is hierarchical in nature. Looking at products, there are distinct items such as hammers and pliers that are part of a hand tools category of product. Similarly, if we look at time, we can see quarters 1 through 4, and then make up the first and second half of the year. We could go further to guess that all the data in this cube could be further classified in a single year, and that you might have multiple years of data cubes. In previous videos we saw the query editor for CQD. This gave us measures and dimensions to query on, as well as a filter to pare down our results. When we look at the example, we see that a measure, the number of hammers, and the dimension, made in Texas, gives us numbers that we then filter to include just the second quarter, which gives us the data that we want. When we translate that to CQD data, we can use the same terms to build a report. In this demo, we'll walk through how to create a report, defining each of the metrics as we go along. Let's say that the first part of the report I want to build is to identify regions with issues. I'll go ahead and create a new report, and I'll remove the existing dimension and add in a new one. In this case, we're going to add in the second region and click Close. The dimension is an entity added to the report to review the values within it. When I add a second region, I'm looking for all of the second regions that are in the database. Then my measure is going to tell me what my values are. Now for measurements, I may have a report of someone that was saying their calls were dropped in the middle of their call. I also want to see the overall volume of call streams with the data to compare. So let's add the measurement for total call dropped failure percentage, and then the total stream count. We can click Add on the measurements, and then type in the word total. That will pull up all of the measurements that say total. We'll now take a look and see that total call setup failure percentage is presented, as well as total stream count. We'll go ahead and choose these two and click Close. The measure now shows me the value of that percentage and the stream relative to the dimension of the second region. This seems like a decent report to start with, but it needs a bit more customization to show the data we need. Let's save the report for now, but before we do, I want to put in a descriptor for the report. On the bottom of the window, let's click Edit. And we'll go ahead and update the title to something meaningful for us. We'll also include the same title in the descriptor down below. You can click Close, and then click Save to save the report. When we look at our new report, we really don't get a sense of what the percentages are of the failures unless we hover over each of the bars in the graph. We want these to stand out so that we can dive into further reports if we see trouble. Let's edit the report again. From here, let's look at the total call dropped failure percentage. We see that it's in bar chart right now, and the color is default good, but so is the total stream count. So let's go ahead and change the color over to default poor and click Close. You can see that the value is now in a different color with the counts, which isn't quite what we want as it doesn't give us a good indication of the data presented. A great way to visualize this type of data is to switch the presentation type to a line chart. So we'll click on the measurement, then click on Line Chart, and click Close. While I have a good percentage of each of the regions, the values aren't scaling correctly to be of any use. I'm going to modify the total call setup failure percentage measurement again, and in the y-axis I'll choose right. We'll cover y-axis in a later video, but for now click Close. The percentage values now show a better comparison across regions. Now we see the percentages per each region. While it's good, we still see some anomalies where the percentage for blank locations is behind the volume of total stream counts. To fix this, we need to go back to the measurement. Up in the top left-hand side, we click the down arrow. When you click Close, it will update the report with a percentage of dropped calls in front of the stream counts. When viewing measurements, it is good to keep in mind that the report will build the first measurement, and then overlay it with the second measurement in the line, followed by the third, and so on. Now that we have this report, I see that the percentage of calls dropped in EMEA looks a bit suspect. So let's create a report to see how performance in that region has been over the past 6 months. Click on Add Subreport, and then let's modify that subreport. First, we'll want to add a dimension for the full month so that we can enable trending. Next, we'll want to filter on the EMEA region. So let's add a filter for second region. And then let's click the EMEA checkbox and click Close. Now, click Trend on the top bar of the query editor. We now see that the total stream count and the total call drop failure percentage over the past 6 months. We can then save the report and update the description for EMEA dropped call percentage. We can clone it to include other regions, or we can create subreports to drill down into more data. For now, let's click Save. In the third session, we're going to dive into concepts like sparklines, left and right y-axis, coloring, stacking, width, and unions. Let's get started. Continuing on with our example report, we may want to add sparklines. Sparklines allow you to see a table view of your data with some graph capabilities. Let's explore this option in our current example. First, let's edit the report. When we click Show Sparklines, we see that the current month pulls up, but we also see the total stream count and total call dropped failure percentage displayed as a bar and line graph. If we remove the filter for the EMEA region, we can see the values for all of the regions with trending over the past month. Now that we have the sparkline report that we want, let's go ahead and click on Save and then Save as New. We also may want to adjust our report to include data on the left, right, or custom y-axis. First, if we edit the report for the EMEA region, we'll look at the measurements. In the properties of the first measurement for total stream count, we can see that the y-axis value is set as left. We also have options for right and custom. The best practice for two disparate sets of data is to use left for one of the data values and right for the other data value. If you have more data to show, though, you can select custom. The number in the box below is a reference to the specific axis you're adding. So if you input 3, that data and any others that you input 3 on will be mapped to the same y-axis. Another great example of this is if I added the total call dropped failure percentage as a measurement. So what I'll do is revert back the change to have the left y-axis be for total stream count. Then I'll click Close, and I'll go ahead and add in the measurement for total call dropped failure percentage. Now I'm going to want to change the presentation to a line chart, and then also change the y-axis to be custom and to have the value number 3. In addition, I'll want a distinct color, so I'll go ahead and select default pour percentage, and then I'll click Close. Now, when we take a look at the report, we can see that the y-axis value is over on the left-hand side. We can edit this further and look at the dropped failure percentage and add in a 4 to the y-axis custom value. When you click Close, you'll notice that the value for that percentage is added on the left-hand side. It is a best practice to use the left and right y-axes first with similar sets of data, and then use a custom y-axis if you need a third set of data to measure against. For example, in this report, I see the different percentages here are roughly similar. So I would go ahead and select the y-axis for right for both call drop failure percentage and call setup failure percentage. While we're editing the report, we can also change the color of specific measurements as we've shown before by simply using the drop-down menu. There are many options to choose from, and we've named a few popular ones up at the top. Another option you have in the report values is to stack reports on top of each other. This is useful if you want to see data that is additive in nature. A perfect example of this is reviewing the total stream count and slicing that data with stacked line charts for audio stream count and video stream count. First, let's create a new report. In the measurements, let's add some stream counts. First, we'll add total stream count, and then we'll also add audio, and video stream count. We'll make sure that all of these have a y-axis of left and that they're all bar charts. But for video and audio, let's click Stack. We'll also want to modify the color to make sure that they're distinct. And let's go ahead and click Close. We now see that the lines stack on top of one another within the report, and that a large amount of our total stream count are audio streams. In some cases, the reports being built may have scroll bars on the bottom of the screen. In order to minimize the trouble of scrolling left to right within a specific report, we can head back into the report and modify the width to a greater value than that of the default of 700. In this example, we'll modify the width to 900, and then we'll click Save. And you'll notice the report now on the right-hand side is noticeably larger than the one just slightly left of it. Unions are another option to use when you wish to use an OR operator within your filters. For those of you that have used SQL or other database queries, this should be familiar. For those that haven't, an OR operator basically means that either a value must be true or that another value must be true in order to show the data requested. If we will look at the EMEA report we created in earlier videos, we see that there are two filters. All filters within a query act with the default of an AND statement, meaning that the first filter, in this case the second region, must equal the EMEA region and that the full month must be November. To show how unions work, let's look at the EMEA report. We've identified that we want to look at call setup failure percentage and total stream count, but maybe I want to compare the EMEA region with performance from a state that I think is working well, in this case Washington. So let's add a filter for second state, and then choose Washington. We should now specify a label for our union field. In this case, I'll label it location. We can then close the filter, and then click on the second region. We'll add a union phrase here of location as well. And then we'll click Close. When we look at our unioned query, we see that EMEA is listed as a region, and we also see that there are two additional regions that have the second state of Washington defined. In our final session, we'll cover filtering and regular expressions, control sort order, and auto update. When you're looking at a specific report from the table view, you may want to filter on the values you have. You can do an explicit filter for a specific value, but sometimes you want to get a range of values. A couple of examples would be if you wanted to filter on subnets or a percentage of failures. In this slide, we see some of the examples that we'll use to filter a custom report. The values shown on the slide are regular expressions, or regex. They are a set of rules to filter alphanumeric data to match your requirements. There are quite a few examples and a few online tools that you can find to edit regular expressions to suit your own filtering needs. First, let's create a new report. I'll select the dimensions and add in second network. We'll click Close, and I'll also add the measurement for total call setup failure percentage. And I'll take the defaults and click Close. Next, I'll click Table to view the information in a table format. In the filter, I'll add in the filter from our previous PowerPoint presentation. And then the updated information will show up in the table. If I do a sort order, we can see that the values are listed at 100%, and then start to go below that down to the 50% mark. Another way to filter is to identify subnets you may be especially concerned with, either subnets you know have a high amount of users or have VIP users. To do this, let's back out our filter for failure percentages and filter on the second network. Using our third example from our slides, we can filter the subnets we may care about. When we paste in the regex for subnets, we can see the list as we wanted. While we see the 2 subnets we were expecting, we didn't see all the subnets that we wanted. The reason for this is simply because the full month has not occurred for December. So if we edit the filter, and then select for the month of November, we can then see that all of the subnets that we wanted are included in the list. In this case, we only want to focus on these 2 simply because they have a 100% setup failure percentage. We touched briefly on control sort order in our earlier videos. However, it's important to view your reports in the best way possible without graphic anomalies. If we take the Sparkline report we created earlier and edit it, we see the 2 measurements we included. The first measurement you add that is at the top of the list is the first that is drawn on the report. The second one you add will then be painted over top of the first. For Sparkline charts, this will be the first Sparkline graph that is displayed on the left-hand side, followed by the second. If we change the report to a chart view, you can see the first measurement displayed, and then the second measurement drawn over top of the first. Any subsequent measurements added will display on top of the second and first and so on. So if you have reports that don't display exactly as you want, be sure that you modify the sort order accordingly. When building a report, you may have an idea for what you want, but you may not want the report to continually refresh and use resources when closing a dimension or measurement. In this case, click the Off button for auto update. Then you can make all of your changes and save the reports to see the results. An example of this is if I add some measurements for total call drop failure percentage, and then click Close, you'll notice that the graph doesn't change. But as soon as I click Save, then we'll see the updated report as needed. As we said earlier, Skype Operations Framework is a living framework, and we continue to work on updating assets and delivering new offers. One key that drives our updates is feedback from you. Please visit the feedback site above, or use the feedback link of the main site to access our feedback channels, where we would love for you to share your thoughts and ideas on what you would like to see in the future. The feedback channels are voting enabled, so if you like an idea already shared, then please vote on it to show your support. We are proud to launch the new Skype Operations Framework community as part of developing the multifaceted approach to SOF. The SOF team are looking forward to hearing from you on how you are applying SOF guidance to your projects and sharing lessons learned. Please sign up and take part. In order to stay up to date, please leverage the following resources. The first link points to our SOF website, where you can download all the SOF material. The second link points to our blog. We recommend you look at the blog on a regular basis. If you have an RSS reader, configure it to stay informed about any new blog articles. Finally, the last link points to our training site, where you can find the latest trainings on SOF, as well as technical trainings. Thanks for watching the video.